Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida Fair Tax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, July 10th, 2026. Bezos' bold tax idea. Catchy, but it doesn't solve the problem. In May 2026, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos made a splashy proposal. The bottom half of American earners should pay zero federal income tax. Bezos argued that the bottom 50% of U.S. earners currently contribute only about 3% of all federal income tax revenue, a share that he believes should drop to zero. Now, speaking on CNBC, Bezos framed it as a matter of fairness and opportunity. "I think there's something very powerful about zero," he said. "Zero is a better number than even $1. He even pledged to push the idea with President Trump. Now, to almost all Americans, and especially to those of us who have worked hard to eliminate the income payroll tax system, our first reaction would be to support Mr. Bezos. Working families are squeezed by inflation in housing, food, and health care costs. But the real test is how much would this change things for most households, and unfortunately, it doesn't. And here's why. This is not a new idea. Senator Cory Booker introduced the Keep Your Pay Act, which would make the first $75,000 of household income tax-free for joint filers. Now, about 76 million households paid zero federal income tax in 2025, largely through the standard deduction, the Earned Income Tax Credit, and the Child Tax Credit. Consider a typical family of four, two parents earning a combined $75,000 with two children. If you look at their gross income, that would be $75,000. A standard deduction for married filing jointly would be $31,500, leaving a taxable income of $43,500. The estimated federal income tax before credits in this case would be $4,700. But the child tax credit for two children at $2,000 each is $4,400, leaving a net federal income tax of around $343. That's an effective federal income tax rate of roughly 0.004%. Bezos' proposal would save this family only about $343 a year. Now, Social Security is taxed at 6.2%, Medicare at 1.45%, for a combined 7.65% taken directly out of every paycheck. No deductions, no credits, no escape. On $75,000 of earned income, that same family pays roughly $5,740 in Social Security taxes. That's more than 16 times their income tax bill. Self-employed workers pay more, 15.3%, to cover both the employee and the employer share. In conclusion, Bezos' proposal targets a tax burden that is, for most working families, already quite low. The real financial pressure comes from payroll taxes, which his idea doesn't address at all. The best solution would be to eliminate both the federal income tax and payroll taxes for everyone. Such a move would benefit all Americans, not just lower income families. The best solution would be to pass the fair tax. The fair tax is the answer. The fair tax, H.R. 25, is more than just a proposal for a retail sales tax. It's a fundamental restructuring of the federal fiscal structure. Unlike other excise taxes, which are normally applied to specific problems and in different percentage amounts, the fair tax applies a 23% inclusive rate to all new retail products and retail services. The fair tax is a national retail sales tax on new retail goods and retail services that provides a family credit so that all purchases up to the poverty level for every family are not taxed. There's no withholding from your paycheck. You never have to file a tax return again telling the government how much you earned and how much you spent, and you'll never be harassed by the IRS ever again because the fair tax abolishes the IRS. Now, many of you have labored tirelessly for freedom from the federal income tax and the IRS. You deserve a great deal of credit for your efforts to educate the American people on the need to fund the American government in a way that's good for America and returns freedom to the American people. It's imperative, though, that we don't replace the current income tax in the IRS with an alternative system that could still be manipulated by the ruling elite. We must let Congress and the President know that the best way to replace the income tax in the IRS is with the fair tax. Now, make no mistake about it. The fair tax is a grave threat to the ruling elites. It will strip them of their power and their ability to control us through the tax system. Their opposition to the fair tax will be fierce and unrelenting. And don't think for an instant they won't use half-truths, deception, and downright lies in their desperate attempts to hang on to their power. However, with the support of this president, we can finally eliminate the income tax and the IRS. Of course, the best course of action is not only to repeal the income tax and abolish the IRS, but to repeal the 16th Amendment as well, so no future administration can ever shackle the American people with an income tax again. We must come together and ensure that real tax reform, the fair tax, is not subverted by the elites in D.C. This will take the diligent effort from all of us. We need your financial assistance and we need your grassroots assistance. Now, if you have contacts that will allow us to get more information about the fair tax to President Trump, please let us know. Please email us at info@fairtax.org and we'll give you some options on how you can best help us. At a minimum, please call your congressional representatives and ask if he or she supports the fair tax. If so, thank him or her for their support and suggest they become a co-sponsor of H.R. 25 if they're not one already. If not, ask why not. Now, if your representative claims to be unfamiliar with the fair tax, offer to have someone come to their office and explain it to them. The solution? Pass the fair tax. Now, why would D.C. pass the fair tax and give up an almost unlimited source of donations? Well, they won't, at least not voluntarily. The only way they will is if the rest of us demand it. Isn't it time to end this ludicrous tax collection system and the IRS along with it? Help us bring about real tax reform and stop future IRS abuses. By contributing or investing $10.40 a month, you help provide a financial base to Americans for fair taxation. Now, if you can make larger contributions/investments, these will be used not for salaries, as we're all volunteers, but for the needed updates to our economic studies, which will be vital for all future years. Please go to fairtax.org to invest in AFFT and help us pass the fair tax. It's an investment in your and your family's future.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at fairtax.org.